Hello, everybody, and welcome to Music Industry Insights Worldwide. Today we have an awesome guest with us, none illa. Hi, how are you?
Doing amazing. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, and thank you for your time. Thank you for coming along and sharing your story with the guests, as a guest on the show for our listeners. Do you want to tell the listeners a little bit more about yourself, where you're from, and what you do?
Um, I like to call myself a mogul at this point. I am an artist slash songwriter I'm a brand first creative first and foremost. So I do a lot of with the industry between marketing and music. And honestly, I'm a role player and do what I can to contribute. So that's whether I'm in the songwriting aspect, the artistry side, the branding. My background's extensive in that nature. So I just help how I can.
That's really, really good, actually, and I'm sure you wear many different hats. How did you get into that role, into those roles even?
I started off as an artist when I was a teenager, and then kind of as I've been in and out of studio sessions and working with people, I kind of realized that as an artist, you're kind of limited if you only focus on your creative side. So as I was around a bunch of creatives,
Yeah,
I would notice they'd be in positions to be taken advantage of and so on and so forth. So I kind of just started poking my eyes and hands and ears around every space. It
yeah,
started with jumping into like the creative realm, so the photoshops and things along those lines, because I'm like, as an artist, you need more. And over time, I developed and started doing schooling behind it and continue my networking and business acumen. And it just allowed me to keep growing in that realm.
yeah.
As long as I'm around music,
Yeah,
I'm
you have,
fine. So,
yeah, I totally understand. I think a lot of artists want to make it in the music business, but they don't understand how the business operates or who the
absolutely.
players are, right? So I think it's really important that you've kind of been an artist, but you're also a music industry professional, which is quite unusual, um, to be honest.
It is. I love it because if you understand the beauty of music,
Yeah,
it becomes a thing to where ultimately you're always involved. Like, in the artist side, if you're just in the studio or just songwriting, you tend to have the stress around it. But I like to be a bigger fan of music at times. Sometimes I don't want to be in a creative mode. Sometimes I want to be inspired around other artists, and not because I'm interested in partaking in their creative, like taking their creative or that. Like I actually am interested in how could we make this bigger.
yeah, that's really good. I think that's great. So you're trying to share their vision with them and make it better than what
Yeah,
it actually is.
absolutely.
And you've obviously done a lot of kind of networking and meeting new people in the business. How do you find that? And what kind of things have you got going on over where you're based at the moment?
You said how do I find out my networking and how do I make it happen?
Yeah, yeah,
I I'm like a research specialist. I feel like like almost I feel like CSI FBI level. So for me, I tend to look deeper. I don't take things at face value. So if I see a song, sometimes I want to see the writers. I want to see the execs behind it. And also, music is everywhere. I think some people forget that music is everywhere. So I use that as my leverage a lot of times. So I might be involved with something, some kind of TV or movie event that needs music. I might be at a restaurant. There's like, you never know. So to me, my mind, I'm 100% myself everywhere. So I think that's so important because music like lives with me. And so does the other aspects of me. So to me, everywhere I am is a chance to network and a chance to grow. And so I never isolate those moments. Like I can just be out at the gym. It doesn't matter. I might run into someone and they see something and we're talking music just as fans. And they're like, oh, my cousin does this and that. Like the world operates in its own.
really. Yeah, it's a real small world, actually. It's funny who you get to meet. And I love meeting other creatives because I find, people are really interesting. And you can also learn, I'm learning all the time by meeting new people as well. So I think, building meaningful relationships, figuring out how the industry works, going to all these networking events. But how do you deal with it? Because there's a lot of late nights, there's a lot of early mornings because you're doing both, you're doing the artist and the business. How do you find time for everything? That's a lot.
I don't really sleep. I'm not gonna even make that up.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm very blessed and fortunate enough to where since I was young, operating off 4 hours. of sleep.
I need more than that.
Average 4 hours, so sometimes it's five. There's times where I get longer, but honestly, long sleep doesn't always do like justice for me. Sometimes it makes me more exhausted.
Yeah.
Um, I prioritize what's happening at the moment. So there was a time so where I was doing full-time school,
Yeah.
full-time work, and in studio sessions simultaneously, and I didn't drop the ball. So I kind of prioritize what's needed. A couple of weeks ago, I had like 20 meetings, it felt like, and I was writing like 8 or 9 songs.
That's crazy. Yeah, it's like that, isn't it?
Yeah, but I love what I do. So I think that's the biggest driving force,
Yeah.
like is to understand that I'm very lucky to be able to say that I'm doing what I love and I'm around people that I want to be around. And after a while, it's like I can't complain. I just have to pace myself at a reasonable rate.
That's really good. That's good because I think, yeah, some people do burn out. I'll tell you what, I've got a problem with. I've been on the computer, I've been doing loads of funding. Actually, because I've got like 4 different projects going on myself. My arm, where I've been typing so much because I'm literally typing as well. I was like, what's happened to my arm lately? I think I've been typing too much. Now I've got a really bad arm. But there you go. And then I'm doing all these late nights. I'm going to award shows, I go to ceremonies, networking events. And sometimes I'm tired. Then I'm doing the podcast, you know.
And it's night where you are right now too. So
Yeah, I'm literally on it. And I think, when you find that passion, that love, that dedication to what you really, really enjoy, it doesn't even
mhm.
feel like you're doing anything. It just comes naturally, right?
It comes natural, and I joke about it, but then I realize like how serious I say when I speak on the fact that I feel like I am music and music thrives through me because that is my foundation and grounding point a lot. So when I'm out of energy, certain music channels me in. When I'm in a place to where I need peace, there's certain music to calm me down. When I need focus, does the same. Like so, to me, knowing my different waves of when I need to channel stuff, even being creative, even the burnout factor. Like there's times where I'm like, all right, let me just disconnect, get in a fan perspective before I even think about creating. Like, let me let my ears do this. Let me let my voice rest. And if all those fail and I need to sit down and watch TV or something, like I accidentally put on music documentaries. Like it's just
There's no TV for me, literally. That doesn't exist.
that's my thought. I don't really watch TV, but spiritually I've been told that sometimes I need to like sit back.
Hey.
So
Mhm.
in those moments, any kind of visual I watch probably has some kind of music
Yeah.
foundation to it.
Yeah. I think they all do anyway, don't they? I think most things have sync on them. Most
Yes.
films, adverts, trailers, whatever. I've done a few sync conferences and talks actually, but it's getting to know those people, music supervisors and people that do composing and so on. And I think it's a great part of the industry, but there's so many different parts of the industry as well, right? But that's
It,
a positive one because that's the one that's going to keep the bills paid rather than some of these record deals and other things.
I've been messing with sync a lot lately, actually. So it's funny you say that.
Yeah, it's a really good position. And I've actually just been offered something with a sync agency. They want me to go and do a few bits for them. They're going to help me with a few bits. So again, it's all these collaborations and networking and meeting new people. Things come out of it.
Absolutely. I always, in any space I am, I kind of really point out the fact that we're human and
Yeah,
we communicate with other people who are human. So I think where a lot of people kind of miss out is that there's always going for what they need and they push their agenda and always talking about the thing they have. And you just lose, once you lose humanity, you don't go far because you're just trying to have other people do for you and you're always doing everything but being authentic because you're just trying to figure out how to leverage an opportunity versus actually when you talk to someone who's human, the opportunities just open up, but when you're just
I think that's it. And it's always sometimes a two-way street. And you learn things from other people and you connect with them, but you can also collaborate because collaboration's a really big key part of it as well, isn't it?
it is
Yeah.
I think collaboration allows for you to actually get outside your own head. I
Mm,
know sometimes I can be my biggest critic and biggest supporter. And no matter how long I've been doing this, there's times where I need my checks and balances. I need someone to kind of either fuel my creative or bounce off it, or I had no idea, let's go that direction, and then it pulls something out to
mm.
where it just marries beautifully too.
Okay, that's cool. So obviously being in music and you're over in California, what kind of issues and barriers have you faced? Accessing music and entertainment and making a living from that.
Cool. I faced a lot of barriers in different spaces on top of music. The one thing about music is having morals.
Morals, yeah, and manners. Don't forget manners.
Yeah, having morals, having manners, and not wanting to compromise your integrity
Yeah.
can kind of put you in interesting places in this music industry because in a time to where viral is king, influencing is a thing,
Mm.
people are kind of changing their image for the public and then a whole different person behind the scenes.
Oh, that's not real
You
though.
it's not real, and you kind of end up in spaces to where you don't want to be in that space, like you're just but
Yeah.
that limits some of your access to on the on the talent side. On
Mm.
the talent side, it limits your access because a lot of people want that fake temporary energy. um Unfortunately, on the business side, you can kind of intimidate a few people on the climb up because they understand you're not easily persuaded and you're not compromisable. So it makes things a little difficult just to be like authentic. Um, Also, too, I prefer I prefer to work with women, and I mean I work with all kind, but the thing is, even working with women, it makes it difficult too because the interactions they've had with men, and so it's a lot of different things. I just like the non competition that exists when operating and working with like women.
Yeah,
Um,
great. But I think, sometimes I think when other women are working with women, a lot of women say they prefer to work with men. A lot of women that I speak to, they actually prefer to work with men for some reason. They say women are a bit too bitchy and competitive. And I said, I kind of understand where they're coming from on that one. But
I,
not everyone is the same.
I see it on all perspectives. I think the most difficult thing is there's a lot of people in this industry,
Mhm.
and even more when you're not just looking at artists, when you're looking at producers, when you're looking at the execs, when you're looking at the different admin involved, when you start going corporate, like you notice there's so many key players. Um, Navigating through all of that at times can be like, all right, it's a lot of energy shifts, right? So you're just like, all right, what am I facing today? Is this a meeting? Like, is this a 9 a.m. meeting or is it a 2 a.m. studio session? Like, is this just kind of like, those are two different lifestyles.
Yeah, yeah. And then you've got to have the personal hat on, the professional hat on, the creative hat on, the social media hat on. So tell us a little bit more about authenticity, because I think it's quite interesting what you say. Because I'm in the music business, but I'm also an artist myself. But I've kind of worked in the business a lot. So all my kind of experience, I've done music since I was about 8 years old, but all my experiences come from music, from literally being an innovator and a change maker, being different, bringing something new to the table. Like, how do you feel on that in America at the moment with it being so polarized, right? There's so much going on. How do you feel about that? And obviously the effects that has on you and what you put out.
And for in terms of other people's authenticity or lack of it too.
Yeah.
Um, I think, well, based on how I move, how I maneuver, I have great detectors and a good discernment at this point. A lot of the people I look up to, they operate very humbly with a
Yeah.
lot of humility.
Yeah.
And I tend to do the same. So I never enter conversations with a resume. I never jump with accolades. I never speak on like connections are irrelevant to me. Like it doesn't matter who you know, that's all irrelevant. But primarily because if I speak with someone and have a great relationship, the rest will unfold.
That's
But
it.
when I come in, like, it's like coming in with money. If I walk into a situation with a bunch of riches, automatically people are going to have their hand out. They don't care about me. So I find that when I enter spaces to where people are telling you about themselves, it makes it difficult to even have interest in pursuing anything because to me, someone else speaking on you or you showing me will always take precedent over you telling me what you're capable of and doing because someone's speaking on your behalf, right? That has allowed me to kind of sit well where I am. But coming up and developing, I always realized like some people's relationships were more temporary than others. You'd have someone around and they would mine what they can from you. And then they figure out how to disappear and move on and then cut you out of the process or it.
All of that. But you have to get used to it. And I think it's about building trust with people as well. So I've learned that the hard way. People will use you if it's useful for them, or people will
Yep.
come on board if it looks good on them. I've learned that loads actually. Hmm.
It,
Interesting.
it makes it difficult when you're creative because when you're creative, when you're solely a creative, I'm always a creative, but when you're solely a creative, when you're solely talent, it's difficult because I have a theory that I created. I do a lot of analogies. I wrote a book about my like motivation stuff. There's a lot of analogies in there, right? Um, I always look at the industry like a lamp. So the talent is the light bulb. At any given time, you can be swapped out. Their team might be the lamp, so that might be what's powering the light bulb. So at any time, they can light someone else up. But the execs are the outlet. So the thing is kind of like the industry side of it is the outlet. When you get closer to being the outlet, you kind of skip past a lot of that. But I do remember that time where you're the light bulb because you're dependent upon everyone else for movement. You're dependent on them. So you kind of are attempting to get approval. You're attempting to please whatever needs they are requesting in order for you to reach a level you're comfortable with.
I think that's hard, isn't it, when you want to be authentic and sometimes people are having you on board because they want to look good, but they also want you to align with what they do, right? And I've never really relied on anyone to do anything. I've made my own opportunities always. So I think people have tried to do that with me as well, actually, when I've gone on board and said to people, okay, I'll do X, Y, and Z, but as soon as you say no to something, they'll try and turn off the tap, and it is quite clicky. I think it can be quite, people know each other and it can be quite like that. But how do you deal with that as an artist as well? Like, or even a music industry professional when you actually want to be authentic and you'll retain that authenticity and you just keep going. But they tried it, but it's good because I'm still progressing and I'm doing the international stuff, which is what I'm really focusing on right now.
There's two approaches I have. I have a great mental and spiritual
Mm.
underlying foundation. So for me, what's meant for me won't miss me. I stop forcing it. If it's not meant to be, it's okay. And
Probably a blessing, actually.
it is a blessing. And then also too, I won't compromise. I won't compromise my integrity because if I have to do something to put myself in a position, I will never unshake that. I will never unshake that feeling.
Mm.
I'm not going to mess over anybody to get somewhere. I'm not going to belittle someone else. It just gets to a point to where it's like I think the difference for me, and this is why I say so much around like mogul, because when you think of mogul, you think of the Quincy Joneses, the Smokey Robinsons. You think of the icons who've been here, and unless they decide to dethrone themselves, you can't.
Tell you what I think of Beyonce, Michael Jackson. I,
I,
I think of people like who were actually signed to labels, Mariah Carey. I think of people like that were signed to these labels, really big labels. They've reworked the contracts to work it their way. They've gone and done it on their own. A lot of the money that they make now goes to them, and they've cut out a lot of the middlemen. And the only way you can do that is if you know people in the business in the first place.
Yes. And even for even speaking on Michael Jackson is my favorite artist. I mean, I literally have like Man in the Mirror tatted on me.
Okay.
But in my own growth and understanding for everything I was looking at in MJ, and I mean, I went through the whole like, from being a fan to being a student to just admiring the person he was and the artist he was. Then I
Entertainment.
realized what Quincy molded, like Quincy, right? So that kind of put Quincy Jones in thinking of it. But what I realized is that, like, realistically, when you're a person who can shift areas you walk into, the mindset shifts. Like, I've seen multiple times to where I lose out because of trying to help someone else, or then I try to help someone else, and then you realize like the story they told you is not a story they told someone else.
Okay.
Then you're now intertwined in the messiness you never even saw coming. And it's like after a while, I don't carry myself this way. So I have to be mindful
Yeah.
of who carries themselves this way because now people see us together,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I get that. I kind of do get that, and that's what I think the whole music industry is kind of like that in a way. But I think, when you're actually real and original, that's how you connect with your audience. Because sometimes I'm not really fussed on the industry too much. They don't care about me. It's all set up against me. It's really what it's about. It's about them making money. Like look at Taylor Swift, for example. She went through all that rigmarole. Now that she's got all her rights back, she's re-recorded a lot of her albums. She's been able to. She makes the most out of all the other artists. Do you know what I'm saying? As a female artist as well, that's really inspirational. So I think the industry is there to make money. It doesn't care about you, but what can you do that's different, or how can you solve a problem, or do something that they're not doing, or do something that's popular, right? That's how I think of it.
That's very true. The Most people don't realize the entertainment industry is the biggest industry in the world.
Mm-hmm.
It's bigger than any other industry because it employs people in every other industry too,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you think about it, like
Yeah,
hospitality,
so true.
travel, like a lot of different places, you just witness the entertainment's behind it. Marketing is fused with entertainment, right? You wouldn't have marketing budgets without entertainment. So when you look at that, you just realize it's a business. And the one thing about business is it's not personal. So
Mm-hmm.
you like at any given moment, depending on what side you're on, you could be someone's move to their next big move. So it's not even about how you operate versus on the creative side, everything is personal, everything is art, everything is like intimate. I remember seeing like a quote, and I think it said, "You can't spell heart without art," but it also said, "Neither can you spell earth without it." So it's like the foundation, the grounding, the emotion side of it. You just kind of go, okay, that's operating on the artist side. So most artists, not all, most artists create from a personal level.
Yeah,
Um, so when you are able to step out on your vulnerability in any form of art, not just music, the last thing you want is someone crushing it. Like last thing you want is someone crumbling it up.
because that is
And
because that art is your personal thing, right?
art. And quite honestly, stepping into someone who's thinking financially first, you are disposable at some point
Yeah,
if you can't deliver because they don't personally know you. They're not your family. They're not like close friends. So they will do what they can to maintain their position.
yeah,
And if you're jeopardizing that, unfortunately, your space is limited.
yeah. I think you're right, and I think it's great. It's a great point you make about a lot of the industries are around the entertainment industry, but the problem I struggle with music is it's probably the only industry without a union. If you look at the film industry, they have unions. We don't actually have unions in music industry. You do in film, you do in, all the other ones, but music itself doesn't have people fighting for each other. Really, it's a business, like you said, but a business will always like look at what happened to TLC, for example, or some of these other artists. they were global stars, but they didn't end up with money in the bank. And it wasn't their fault. It's the fact that they signed these contracts that weren't working in their favor, right?
Yeah, and I think that was one of so that was one of the launching points to why I got into getting my bachelor's in music business.
Right.
I was sitting in class in junior college, and the teacher was a lawyer. He's a music lawyer.
Same thing, actually. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and he the way he did the class was he's like, just show up. I'm going to give you the answers to all the tests. Like, I want you to like really I want you to process what I'm telling you, right? So like me being the music geek I am, we went over different contracts and things like that. And I have like I'm pretty good emotionally in tune, so I can seek out and feel a lot of things. And when he was describing what these artists went through and their contracts, I'm thinking, well, it's because they're vulnerable. Like some of these people would do it for free. So the moment you go and say, here's some money,
Mm.
it changes the playing field.
That's true.
What you don't realize is, yes, the money changes the playing field. But for people who've never seen money, who've never touched a dollar, they don't think of the terms. They think of the money. They don't think of the years, the projects. They don't think of the stipulations that move and shift the dollar amounts. Nor do they think about the fact that like you are now contractually obligated for whatever you signed up. And I think before the internet, before social media, it was way more detrimental because a lot of these artists, even these icons, they don't come from the major cities. Are very few are from Los Angeles, and I mean actually born and raised.
Yeah. Definitely.
Very few are from Los Angeles. New York's kind of an anomaly because New York's like a mecca to where
It's like
you
a,
know, but Texas, Atlanta, Miami, the Midwest, those are all new territories for music.
okay.
They're like relatively new. I mean, they have like decades on them now, right? But before the South and all those weren't like big things like that. So when you mention the Beyonces, when you mention the Mariah Careys, when you mention Michael Jackson, who's from Gary, Indiana, like these aren't big spaces
Right.
right away. So they don't have their neighbor telling them, "Hey, I did this with a contract." They're just like, "Nobody from my area has ever did this."
Right. I get it. Yeah, I totally get it. Yeah.
And they sign, and that's over. So you just witness and you go, okay, like this is what happened. But now with the power of the internet, some people are more aware. They still are signing messed up contracts because,
You'll make mistakes.
yeah, and
How big that is, really, doesn't it?
honestly, for me, like once I started knowing marketing stuff, I witnessed like even like social media, people can't control the algorithms. For
Right.
me, I can detect them and kind of get a pulse enough,
Mhm.
but it's doing what it's supposed to do. It knows how to tap into your psychology and take advantage of that. You cannot fight that.
I think that's really interesting as well. Algorithms is another thing I was talking about yesterday, and it's really interesting to try and beat that or crack it. And I think you're right. It's what you see, what you read, what you like. It's all based on that kind of stuff, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
And it's based on whatever the people around you like too. Because you might just like the people and then they will share everything and then the engagement continues that way too.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. So if people want to find out more about your music, listen to your music, how could they find it or find out more about you and what you do?
You for sure. I'm most active probably at this point on Instagram. I have LinkedIn and everything, but I have a website. It's noneilla.com. Or you can just catch me on none_illa at Instagram. At that, you'll find motivation stuff. You'll find music stuff. I have a book out to share some of the gems and stuff I go through called Mogul 50 Moments of Knowledge. Mogul Mind is my brand. But most importantly, I'm in every space you are. So wherever you're comfortable, you can find me.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. And is there any major wins or successes you want to share with us before you go?
The biggest win I have is just being here and being able to contribute. I feel the past is the past, like whether it's connections and accolades, that's going to keep coming. But the fact that I can contribute and inspire and motivate in any space I'm in, like that's the biggest win I could have. Because if I could do that day in and day out,
Yeah,
that's lighting the fire that starts the wildfire that creates everything else.
absolutely. I think that's great advice. Thank you ever so much. I've really enjoyed your time. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank
It's
you.
been a pleasure. Thank you so much.